definitely tied into issues relating to culture and identity and family expectations and just being able to access justice at the very first instance through the system. We also had some interesting perspectives, interesting is the wrong word, some actually sobering perspectives around specific people's experiences within prison. Again, that's not something we often get insight into as members of the public. What happens in prison is very much, out of sight, out of mind. But we thought it was really important to speak to those who had been incarcerated to learn about their stories. And what we heard, very sobering, that prison was deeply lonely, isolating, a very toxic environment, and did not meet the rehabilitative objectives that it sets out to achieve. In addition to that, there was a lot of frustration expressed about particularly family members' experiences moving through the justice system, and as well as survivors who expressed, one of them expressed feeling incredibly exhausted, left by the system, and just that lack of agency and the inability that they felt to have a voice in the matter and a say in the matter, in their own matter, as well as family members not finding that there was adequate cultural or collective support available to them, whether they were a family member of someone who was a victim of harm or someone who was an offender, that they felt very isolated from that process as well. So although there's been a lot of, I think, lip service given to diversity, equity and inclusion within the legal profession and within the justice sector, over the last few years, particularly since 2018, that the sort of material realities of people navigating the system, particularly for Pacific peoples, isn't really improved, nor has there been really any substantive structural change there as well.
Tourists in Zealand are being encouraged to look beyond the picture-perfect postcard scenery and give back to the environment when holidaying in the islands. Regenerative tourism is becoming a staple for visitors wanting to be climate change conscious. I spoke with Cook Islands tourism and local operators about how it's possible to have a relaxing holiday while also doing your bit for the environment. Growing up in the Cook Islands, the ocean his playground. Donald Helen, known as Dee, follows his ancestors' teaching that they are the guardians of the sea.
That is our job, we're all just guardians here. Like, we're all landowners here, we own land, but at the end of the day, it's not ours, it's just, we're just here to look after it and pass it on to the next generation. We love the ocean.
The Go Locals tourism director provides turtle and eagle ray tours, as well as other ocean adventures. He says the ocean means everything to them. But Dee says he's concerned about the deteriorating state of the ocean.
From a young age, we've seen the differences. Like, you go there now, like compared to when we were kids, it's totally different in the ocean. It's not as colourful as it used to. So we've seen the changes, and just experiencing all those changes, it kind of gets you a bit concerned, You're like, it's not like how it used to be.
Alex King, the founder of Te Ara o Te Ako, is combating this by launching a coral restoration project. She hopes both locals and visitors get involved.
Message of how important our coral reef is and how much it provides for our basic living. It's one of our food sources. It's where we catch our fish. Personally, I would really love to see more community involvement in that, maintaining and protecting the ocean space.
She's teamed up with Dee and his team, including Go Local Beach Operations Manager, Raving Atiao, who is already making a difference.
So our goal eventually is to make it a thing where people, if they are interested, we give them the chance to go and plant a coral. And then maybe we'll put up a plaque or something where everybody gets to have their name on it. So everybody around the world gets to see that these people have contributed to the well-being of our island.
There are many ways tourists can give back while visiting the Cook Islands, like donating or volunteering with the SPCA, to planting natives along the banks to prevent coastal erosion with moody environmental care. Cook Islands Tourism Manager Jeremy Goodwin says sustainable travel is the goal, and some members of the Cooks community have been doing this for years, but are now finally getting recognised for it.
Now, Manatiaki, it celebrates us as local people to extend the right to our visitors to come and enjoy the destination, but leave it in a greener space before they leave. So that Manatiaki has been operating, and we're looking at how can we make this, but how can this evolve more and bigger throughout our communities.
As for waste and recycling on the main and outer islands, the goal is to have zero waste in the Cook Islands by 2045. On outer islands, there's no landfill, and on Rarotonga, there's only one. Goodwin says there's potential to not only reduce, but also repurpose plastic.
The dreams we have from regenerative tourism and other business opportunities out there. Plastic, for example, I've seen plastic bottles that could be turned into chopping boards. There's green ways out in the world, and our hope is that people to move into that space, and tourism will be on board to support where we can.
Alex King says there's power in community initiatives.
So I didn't feel like our government was taking these sorts of issues seriously, or I didn't feel like there was enough resources. Once you sort of start something, it can ripple effect. It has kind of started to do that, so I do feel really positive about it. I do feel like it sort of holds certain agencies accountable, so I do feel really positive about the future of restorative projects.
Goodwin hopes visitors get behind regenerative tourism. He says it has the potential to make a positive difference for last generations. The gorgeous voices of Wellington's signature choir during a full-day rehearsal. Pacific performers are preparing for an upcoming show at Auckland Spark Arena in collaboration with New Zealand Symphony Orchestra. Moira Tuileipa Taylor went along to a sneak peek of the performance.
When we were tasked with doing these arrangements, both Helen and myself had the task of kind of finding the songs first, and in terms of kind of our main criteria was that the song had to kind of be significant to the culture that we were representing, and so taking those songs and then putting a little bit of spin on it, but also making sure that we stay true to the essence of the original song and its original message.
That's Jedra Tupai, Assistant Director of Signature Choir, speaking about Helen Tupai, Director. 13 Pacific songs will be performed in Auckland to a crowd of more than 9,000 people. The 50 members of Signature Choir will be joined by another 30 singers from Auckland, performing November 24th. Nathan Lokpa says as a Tokelauan, he's proud to know that 2 beautiful Tokelauan songs will be sung at the Mana Moana performance.
The pride that I have when I hear Tokelau being sung by this talented group of people, I hope, just as it has to myself, empowers our young Tiniu, our Tokelau youth to please make the most and nurture and learning our language.
He says in Pacific culture, songs are more than just a tune that we hum.
It's a way that we documented history, and it's a way that we pass stories through generations. And so to be able to have this opportunity with Signature Choir and New Zealand Symphony Orchestra singing these songs at this level in front of a jam-packed crowd, hopefully in Auckland, it's to those who have gone before us, and as well as introducing these songs to the newer generation.
For Saimoni Ungdaungunu, being part of the choir has helped him reconnect with his Fijian heritage.
Just having this opportunity to be part of this group has pushed me to go away and try and find my identity again and reconnect with my culture. So I'm finding, like, personally, it's helping me reconnect with the Fijian culture.
Next Friday's concert follows on from the huge success of a concert in Wellington. Tepora Samia says despite the challenges of COVID-19, they have all persevered, making the setbacks worthwhile once they find.
And I guess that really represents our Pacific people too, the journey that, we go through, even though it's bit of a struggle sometimes, but we just persevere and we just get on with it, and that's it reflected in the whole journey of last year.
The choir members, whose cultures span parts of the Pacific region, unite to share hymns from their homelands. Henrietta Hunkintangaloa, music is a universal language.
We all come together to sing, with each other, but using our Pacific languages and the languages of our ancestors is just such a special thing to be a part of. But also the music that's gone behind it, all of the creative works and time that's gone into it is just a huge tribute to the people that have gone before us.
She says they are excited to showcase 12 months of hard work. Chidra Tupai says everyone is pouring their hearts and souls into the performance to bring the best show they can. Tickets are forecast to sell out as Pacific Pride takes over the city of sails.
That's Tangata o Te Moana for today. Remember, you can download us for free to your device from Spotify, iHeart or Apple Podcasts. And if you're using Apple, please leave a rating so others can also find us. Tō whā soi fua.
Kia ora ngā, you're listening to RNZ Pacific. Claire Concannon from Our Changing World speaks with AJ Penny, a born and bred Chatham Islander from Rekohu, who is part of the revitalisation of Moriori culture.
That is my main influence, is home. The characters, the weather, the ocean, the wildness and rawness of it all. So it connects very deeply into my music.
Kia oranga, kohi mai rā. Welcome to Our Changing World, ko Claire Concannon ho. AJ Penny lives in Western Australia, but he's originally from Rekohu, the largest of the Chatham Islands. And on his nan's side, he can trace his genealogy, his hokopapa, back to Indigenous Moriori who first inhabited these islands.
Kia oranga, my name's AJ Penny, or Ataira, and I am born and raised Chatham Islander. I am of Moriori blood, Māori blood and Rarotongan blood. I'm also a musician and I do the compositions and some musical direction for the Moriori project.
I caught up with AJ in Ōtepoti at the University of Otago's Performing Arts Centre. It's a sunny weekend and a team of people are gathered for the music recording part of a wider project.
Yeah, Moriori music and manawa. The whole project's very much about Moriori cultural revitalisation.
This is Dr. Jennifer Cattermole, an ethnomusicologist at the University of Otago, and one of the co-leads of this project.
What we're really aiming to do is to create a museum exhibition that will be held in Otago Museum July-August 2024. And one of the things that we're trying to create is a really multi-sensory experience for people of what it's like to be over on Rekohu, and also to really celebrate and highlight the contemporary Moriori cultural revival that's been ongoing for many, many, many years now. There's just so many really, really amazing things going on.
And that's where AJ's musical talent comes in. Both composing for the exhibition, but also part of this wider revitalisation and contemporary expression of Moriori culture.
It started for me about, I think, close to 9 years ago, or it was around 2011. And I was just writing a song for my projects under Black Rock, and then I wanted to incorporate some Moriori words. So I emailed Hokati Trust, or Susan and Maui Solomon, and just asked for language files they had on hand to just see if I could incorporate some, and then they kindly emailed back about a couple of weeks later and gave me the opportunity, or opened the door for me to compose music for rongo and melodies too for the old rongo from my ancestors and that. So since then we've created 2 EPs. One's a CD that's only at Hokotia, I'm pretty sure. The other one is on Spotify, and the next ones I'm recording now currently, and also with this project too, we're recording some, so.
The album on Spotify is called Rongo Moriori by the Hokotehi Moriori Trust. The songs, the Rongo, are a mixture of AJ's compositions, taonga puro, field recordings, and lyrics that were collected some time ago.
A lot of the words that they use are from Alexander Shand or Hiruwana Tapu. Hiruwana Tapu was here like the 1800s to 1900s to work with a man named Alexander Shand, who was on Rekohu at the time, to keep track of all the history, or as much history as they could, and the language and all. A lot of it got burnt to the ground with Alexander Shand in the early 1900s, I'm sure. But what we have left, that's what we use. Gifted the rongo from Hokotehi, and then I get the translations as well, because that helps a lot to sort of understand, really connect to what the ancestors were praying for or singing about. Yeah, I'll sort of paint the picture from there.
So he's got a busy weekend ahead.
I am currently recording some new rongo for Hokotehi Moriori Trust for another personal album to release on streaming and all that. So I'll bring in those stems from those sessions into the session here, and that is almost like just a guide track. And then Alistair will go in and lay the foundation drones and a lot of the foundation mihiki oro or taonga pōro. And then I'll go in after him and I'll lay down the vocals or the melodies. And after that, we'll embellish some of the phrases or some of the wording with taonga pōro.
Taonga pōro is a te reo Māori term for a treasured musical instrument. And as Jennifer explains, miheke oro can be thought of as the...
So miheke is kind of the equivalent to te reo Māori, the word taonga. So it means something that's really treasured, valued, highly prized. And oro is kind of the equivalent term to puoro in te reo Māori. Oro kind of means like source or origin, and particularly in this context in terms of like a source or an origin of sound. Yeah, it's kind of an umbrella term that embraces all Moriori flutes, unfortunately, that I've been able to find. There may be more that have been mislabeled toggles, so there may still be more flutes than just these two, but one of these is held in the Canterbury Museum and the other one is in the Bishop Museum in Hawaii, and they're really existing instruments apart from exist, but possibly some kopi trees back on Rekohu that were struck with wands and had karaki or incantations recited in order to change the direction of the wind. So some of those may still exist, but otherwise these two flutes are the only ones that that we still have a physical record of. You know, there's odd kind of scattered reference in the literature to a few other kinds of instruments, but in terms of the actual physical instruments, these two flutes are the kind of all we have.
Two remaining flutes of different design, whose history can be traced back to Rekohu.
This is the inner nerd or the ethnomusicologist in me speaking, I guess. These flutes, there might be similarities between these miheke oro and some flutes here on mainland Aotearoa, but they are utterly different from anything documented from anywhere else in Polynesia.
So the flutes were hand-carved and a long time ago. They're carefully stored in two museums, which means they are being preserved, but not played. So how then do you capture the sound of these instruments and make them available for musicians to be able to use them?
We've had the original meheke CT scanned, and then that CT scan data to digital models, and those digital models are what gets printed using a 3D printer. We've been experimenting with a variety of different filaments, test out how close we can get to either look, feel, sound of that original meheke. So we've tried got sort of brass particles. We've got ones that have got a little bit of wood pulp, some that are made from the same material that you find in plastic Coke bottles. There's even a carbon fibre. Yeah, and it's really just to test out different densities, the different kind of feel or surface texture that you get with some of these different print mediums.
From what you've tried and tested already, do the flutes sound depending on the different filaments that you use?
Yeah, I think so a little bit. You know, the internal structure of all of these is identical, as you so. But there is a real big difference, I think, in terms of the timbre. So timbre is kind of like the quality. The ones that have got brass, they're a lot denser, a lot heavier. And the tone, I don't know, it's sort of sharper or cleaner somehow compared to ones that are, you know, really made from more lightweight plastic where it's sort of a bit breathier. The one I'm really excited to try is a product called Simu Bone, which Gianna's just been over to the United States. The only place where they would sell it, they wouldn't ship it here to New Zealand, but she's managed to buy some and use it to actually print like replacement human joints for medical applications. So,
Dr. Gianna Savoy is the other co-lead in this project, based on the Centre for Science Communication. And the thing here is that because there are no more Dori bone flutes remaining outside of museums and no recordings of them being played, no one really knows exactly what they should sound like, and therefore which material is best. But alongside this 3D printing, there was also a wangana to carve flute replicas, using what is believed to be the original material, something carefully sourced from Doc and Tuhura Otago Museum.
We use toro bones, albatross bones, so called hobble, and traditional tool materials.
This is Alistair Fraser, musician and maid.
Kia ora, ko Alistair Fraser.
Radio New Zealand Pacific is now closing on this frequency. To continue hearing us, please return to 11725 kHz in the 25 metre band. Once again, retune now to 11725 kHz in